In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the registry. The registry is something that's specific to Windows, and it's a place where a lot of configuration parameters are stored. You can sort of think about it as a bit of a directory of information or a database, perhaps. Now, to open up the registry, what we want to do is start the registry editor, which is called regedit. And regedit is going to open up the registry for us. And you can see on the left-hand side here, first of all, at the top level, it says computer. And part of the reason it says computer is because I could actually open up a registry from another system, and if I were to open up a registry from a remote system, it would actually have that computer's name. But what I'm working on here is my own local registry, and so it says computer at the top. Now, you can see that there are 5 different folders here, and those are called hives. And we can pop any one of them open, and you can see that there's a lot of different entries under each of them. Now, there are really probably only a couple that you have a lot of interest in or may have much interest in, and so we're really going to focus on those. But you can know that in any one of these, you'll find a lot of configuration parameters and settings and information about programs and things that are actually stored on your system. So, for example, HKey class's root is going to have information about the registered programs that are installed on your system, and there's going to be a lot of information stored there. The first thing that we're going to look at, though, is the HKey current user. Inside the HKey current user is settings that are specific to your user. So that's this user that's logged in right now, and in this case, that's my user specifically. So you can see there's a lot of things here from app events and console. There's control panel settings. I'm actually going to open up the software here, and we're going to go to Microsoft. I'm going to go and show you an example of something that's stored in the registry, just to give you an example of one of the uses of the registry. So if I open up Windows here, and I'm going to open up current version, now you'll see a lot of things here from applets to group policy and internet settings, and what I want to go to is the run key. And you can see on the right-hand side now, there's an entry that says Google Update. And that Google Update is actually a program that gets run when this current user logs into the system. So when the current user logs into the system, anything that's stored in this key here is going to run. And I could actually add several programs or any program that I wanted here. And anything that I add is going to run anytime the user logs in. Now, again, that's specifically for this user. So that's really what this HKey current user is all about. And as I said, there's a lot of different settings for different programs. You can see a lot of different keys here. Just under the Microsoft key, there's a lot of keys, and there's a lot of other keys that are specific to other manufacturers, for example, Hewlett-Packard. And you can see Macromedia, so there's information about the Flash player, and there's a lot of other manufacturers under just this software key. So that's one thing here under the current user. I'm going to show you another one here under the HKey local machine, and again I'm going to go to the software key, and you can see a lot of the same vendors here or manufacturers under the software key under HKey local machine. And the difference between HKey local machine and HKey current user is, while the current user is specific to a particular user, HKey local machine is system-wide. So anything that has to do with the system as a whole is going to be under this HKey local machine key. So I'm going to go back down to the Microsoft key and open that up. And you can see, again, there's a lot of different keys underneath that. And many of them are the same as the ones in HKey Current User. Now I'm going to go down to Windows again. And I'm going to open up the Windows key and again, current version. And you may have guessed it, I'm going to go down to the Run key. Now, there's not actually anything in this, so what's stored in this key here, in the Run key under current version, Windows, Microsoft, software, HKey local machine, what's stored in this particular key is something that would start up at boot time. So it's a program that's not a service that would start up when the system was booted. After all of the services are started up, it would go into this Run key and find whatever's there and start those programs up as well. So what you would get here would be like maybe the iTunes helper application, for example, might be stored here if you've got iTunes installed on your system, or if there were user programs that were associated with, for example, fast switching of graphics resolutions. Maybe there's a program that does that that's manufactured by your graphics card vendor, and that program may actually launch at boot time, just as an example. So there's a lot of information in the registry that has to do with configuration parameters and settings and having to do with programs and features of the operating system. But here's the thing. This registry is here, and it provides you the ability to actually create information inside of it, either in a programmatic fashion through APIs that are provided by Microsoft, or whether you're going in here manually and doing it. So what I could actually do here is, let me go back to HKey Current User. Now what I could do is have a key that I stored, and I'm going to go to my key, and now what I can do over here on the right hand side is I could store some value. And just for simplicity, let's say it's my value and it's a string. So inside this my value, this is some information I want to hide. So if you've got a bunch of information that you want to store, maybe it could be hidden inside the registry, depending on what the information is and what format you want to make use of it. So you could store any number of things inside here. What you can't do is you wouldn't easily be able to store files, for example. You could store binary values, you can store strings, you can store multi-byte strings. So if you've got little chunks of information, the registry may be one place where you can do that. And it's also a good place as a forensic investigator where you may want to go digging around and see whether you can find particular pieces of information. Now, the thing about the registry is, unless you know what you're looking for, you may not be able to find it, because really you're sort of limited here unless you've got a particular tool that is capable of going through in some automated fashion and looking for things that may be a bit of an anomaly. What you've got here is you've got a search field or a find function. So what I can find is, for example, Microsoft, and it's going to go looking, and we find Microsoft here, and at the bottom it says computer HKey local machine software classes, and this has to do with the file type .crd or the file extension .crd. So it says that's a Microsoft information card. Now I could do a find and go find my value, and it ought to bring us back to the place where I had stored that key called my value. And it's not incredibly fast because it's not indexed in the way a database is. It just goes through and does a search of values inside these registry hives. So sometimes it can take a while, and even though we were just there a minute ago inside the interface, it's actually taking quite a while to search through the registry to find that particular key to display to us. So searching through the registry can be a bit of an onerous task in the sense that it is difficult because you have to know specifically what it is you're looking for in order to be able to find it. And sometimes, even though it's right there in front of you, maybe it's gone searching in a particular way. Oh, I didn't actually have my value here because I deleted it. So I'm going to look for my key now. And we're going to see whether we can find my key. And now it found my key. And the reason it couldn't find it before was because I had plugged in my value and I had deleted my value, and so it wasn't there anymore. So the registry is a place where a lot of configuration parameters are stored, but it's also sometimes a place where information may be stored and hidden from the view of a typical user, or in this case that we're discussing, maybe information that's stored away from a forensic examiner. So it can take a little bit of time to go digging through and finding information that you may be looking for, unless, like I said, you specifically know what it's called or particular strings that you could easily search for.